Chris Vanderstock loves electric cars.
Mate, we got there damn fast. Woo! Bit of Dame Edna Everidge sort of look. It's okay, I don't mind it. You can keep your hands occupied and let the car do the heavy lifting.
He can talk about them all day, and generally does on his YouTube channel.
Not only do you have a pretty big boot, but you've also got what I'm going to call a fruit.
But this EV evangelist isn't just talking, he's leading the charge against the Victorian government in a case that's gone all the way to the High Court.
I was really enraged and quite angry about it because it's the wrong thing we're doing right now.
This case is about challenging a tax which has been described by some as the worst electric vehicle policy in the world.
Chris's anger is directed at Victoria's electric vehicle tax, or road user charge, which was introduced in 2021. It requires EV owners to pay the state government around 2 cents for every kilometre they drive.
To me, it's a tax cash grab. And I just feel that right now, this tax is absolute sending the wrong message to people that electric vehicles are bad and, well, they should be taxed for whatever reason. And, they're ignoring the benefits that they actually bring.
If you drive a car that uses petrol, you already pay a tax. It's called the Fuel Excise Levy and it's collected by the federal government. Now, if you drive an EV, you don't pay a tax, except in Victoria. It's the only state to put a road user charge on EVs for now.
There is a pot of revenue at the end of this and everybody wants it.
As more and more people buy EVs, the revenue collected from drivers will shift from the federal government to the states, if other states adopt a tax like Victoria's. The Victorian government argues it needs the money to invest in roads and new electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Marion Terrell is the head of Transport and Cities at the Grattan Institute.
At the moment, the Commonwealth controls the revenue from driving because it is responsible for the fuel excise. But over the longer term, that will decline as cars become more and more fuel efficient and as people gradually switch to electric vehicles. So over the long term, it will decline.
While Victoria is the first state to tax the use of EVs, other states are considering the same, and they've joined Victoria in fighting Chris in court. On the other side, the federal government is backing Chris.
What's at stake here is that we've got Victoria on the one hand and all the states and territories lined up with Victoria, and on the other hand the Commonwealth and the plaintiffs. And they're arguing really, the reason why all the governments are arguing about this is over who gets to control the revenue from driving.
Oh, I thought we were coming over there.
No, we're up here.
Oh.
When he's not fighting the Victorian government in court or filming EV updates for his YouTube channel, Chris is a nursing manager and a dad to 4 children. Every day, he and his wife are behind the wheels of their electric cars, juggling the family's busy schedule in suburban Melbourne.
I just felt that this is a wrong tax for a lot of different reasons, and primarily for me it's about the health benefits that electric vehicles bring and the environmental benefits.
To pay Victoria's EV tax, twice a year Chris must take a photo of his odometer and upload it.
And how much money each year do you end up paying through this scheme?
This last year I paid more than $450 for one of our cars.
But Marion Terrell argues EV owners already receive a number of subsidies.
So there's a point of purchase subsidy from Victoria and New South Wales of $3,000. There are registration discounts. The Commonwealth has got a fringe benefits tax exemption for electric vehicles. So there's plenty of subsidies in the system.
Lawyer David Hertzberg is representing Chris Vanderstock and the other Victorian plaintiff. He says the case has been paid for by a crowdfunding campaign launched by the 2 plaintiffs.
If our clients are successful, Victoria's electric vehicle tax will be invalid, and it will likely also prevent other states from implementing similar legislation.
The team's legal case rests on the question of whether the tax the Victorian government is charging is what's known as an excise.
An excise is a tax on production or distribution of goods, and the real question at issue is how broadly or narrowly that's defined.
The issue is that under the Constitution, states aren't allowed to levy duties of excise. So Excises are the domain of the federal government, not the states. That's why the fuel excise is levied by the federal government.
And if Victoria's EV tax is deemed unconstitutional and therefore invalid, it could determine whether the other states are able to tax EVs.
So why shouldn't EV owners pay some sort of tax to maintain the roads and infrastructure they use?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, our roads are actually not paid by fuel excise and haven't been that way since the late 1950s. And we're all taxed. So even if you don't drive a car and use public transport, if you pay taxes, you're paying for roads.
None of us want to pay more tax, of course, but at the same time we do want the services that government funds through taxes. So I think the point isn't do you pay other forms of tax. I think it is reasonable for people who contribute to the demand for roads to be taxed to drive.
The High Court judges are expected to hand down their decision in the coming months.
If our clients win, it will remove a tax which is an obstacle to reducing emissions and improving air quality.
But experts warn it may not spell the end of the EV tax, as the federal government and other states may still impose charges on EVs in the future.
There are other ways that the state of Victoria and other states could impose a tax on driving if this doesn't succeed.
To be honest, I think this is actually our future.